Oh, it looks exactly the same. Crap. But did any of that sound familiar to you? Exactly. See, to you, it's just looking at your brisket. It's just looking at your ribs. But to the meat that you're cooking inside this smoker, it's a whole different story. Every time you open that lid, you are adding precious time to your cook. Every single time. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how much. Stay tuned. Now, we've all heard the saying, right? If you're looking, you ain't cooking. But here's the thing, people ignore that. And the reason why they ignore that is they think, but I'm in and out in 3 seconds, Bubba. What's the big deal? Well, I'm going to tell you what the big deal is. You see, it's a physics problem. Every time you open that lid, you disrupt the cooking process. But that's not even the worst part. You know that spritzing habit that you picked up every 10, 15 minutes with your little spritz bottle? Yeah, it's making it worse. You don't need it. And in fact, by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a foolproof method so that you can get your cooks done on time, you can eat your dinner with your family, and you don't have to wait hours and hours and hours to get a result. Stay tuned. Here's what's actually happening inside your smoker. People think the heat source is just the hot air. It's not. The real heat is stored in the thermal mass, the steel walls of your smoker. Think of it like a battery. That metal absorbs and radiates heat to cook your meat low and slow and even. You know how oftentimes what we'll do? We'll lift this lid because we want to check the color of the meat, right? We want to see how things are going along. But every time you're doing that, what you're doing, you're not just losing heat, you're draining a battery. And what do I mean by that? Well, you see all of this steel? This is a 1/4 inch thick steel, and it actually absorbs all of the heat from that cook. Every time you open this, it actually, in a sense, drains your battery. And when you drain your battery, you don't have as much thermal mass in the cooker to keep cooking over time. And it gets lower and lower every single time you open the lid. Now, here's where it gets ugly. You see, you open this lid and what happens? Then your dampers, either on your offset cooker, your pellet cooker, or even your Weber grill, every single time your dampers go into overdrive. You see, your dampers and your vents are supposed to allow airflow. Airflow helps the cooking process, right? You have to have air. But what happens is if you're constantly opening this, you're losing that thermal temperature, that thermal mass produced from all this steel. So it will drop over time. But not only that, your grill, your smoker, thinks it needs more air. Because guess what? You've opened it, you've cooled off the whole process. You're not cooking as well as you could. So then what happens? You get the sawtooth effect. You get a spike in temperature and then a drop every single time you open your smoker. And what's the result of that? You guessed it, tough meat. Now you're riding a roller coaster. You've got hot, then cold, hot, then cold. Guys, that's not a great way to cook your meat. Trust me on that. But spritzing is okay, right? But Bubba, the internet says I have to spritz. It keeps the meat moist. Give me that. Tough meat isn't bad luck. It's bad math. And if you think this little guy is helping you throughout your cook, think again. Let's talk about that. You like my spritz bottle? Actually, it used to be a squirt bottle for my girls, and I stole it because they always steal my equipment. Now, I know, spritzing is so famous. You see it on the internet all the time. And I will admit, even today, I still spritz on occasion. But have you ever gotten into that habit? Every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, open the grill, spritz your meat. You get that cloud of smoke and that mist that comes up, and you think you're doing good. You think you're a professional cook. But really, you are purposely sabotaging your meal. Well, why do I say that? Because steam lies. Now, you think you're doing really good, right? You think every time you spritz your meat, you're doing your meat a favor, but you're not. That cloud that you see, that's not mist coming up from the juice. That's your hot meat being hit with cold liquid. And so there you go. You've got evaporative cooling taking place. It's the exact same thing that happens when you step out of a pool on a cold day, right? It's the same thing that happens to your meat. Now let's do the math on that. 4 spritz sessions during a cook, you are going to lengthen your cook by a minimum of 2 hours. Are you going to eat at 6 o'clock for your normal dinner? Probably not. So what do you do instead? Well, let's think of an approach that involves your eyes but also something else, something that you have probably readily available. Look, guys, it's okay to use technology. This isn't 1950. We have wireless probes that tell you everything you need to know without ever touching that lid. Now, I'm all about using your eyes and hands when it comes to meat being done, but save that for later on in your cook. Temperature doesn't lie. If you have a reliable probe in the thickest part of the meat, the data is your cook. You don't need to see the meat early on. You need to trust the numbers. But here's the mental game, and I want you to try hard to remember this, okay? It's called the zone of silence. So what does it entail? Well, after let's say you wrap your ribs, you wrap your brisket, put it in the cooker, leave it. Wait till it reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have to tape the lid, do that. Do not open your lid. That zone of silence, that's where the payoff happens. Because the longer your brisket, your ribs, your pork shoulder stays in that heat, in that environment, that thermal mass continually over time, now you're rendering fat. Now you're rendering collagen, and you're getting that barbecue that you actually want. Don't rob yourself of that because of impatience. So here's my next challenge to you. The next time you cook a brisket or ribs or a pork shoulder or a large piece of meat, I want you to tape the lid shut. Don't touch it till it reaches 200 degrees. Now, of course, I'm talking about your bigger cuts of meat, but challenge yourself. Don't touch it. Pick a probe that you trust, insert it in the meat, and leave it alone. Let the heat, let that thermal mass from your cooker do the work and produce delicious barbecue. And when you do that, do me a favor. I want you to drop a comment right here in the comments below, because I want to know what's the longest you've gone without opening the lid to your cooker. I really would be interested to hear that. If this has helped you a little bit, drop a like and subscribe, because I'm coming out with more myth-busting information that's going to save you time and save you money. Happy cooking.